This has been quite a week. I just want to recap what's going on here in my business. I'm sorry, I'm incredibly busy. We've had four people want to do 1031 exchanges out of what we're calling endangered cities. So we're reasonably busy. And I just want to talk about what we see in the marketplace right now. I'm getting all these calls asking why the how market hasn't collapsed and housing. So let me just share a little bit with you as to why. So in June of 2022, I made a call, and it's still been in effect, that the housing market peaked. And of course, when it peaks, that means it's not going up anymore. But right before then, one of our other models, which is the liquidity model, we track liquidity, that also peaked, and that peaked in May of 2022. And it had been like a skyrocket, just going straight up, and then it started rolling over. And those two coincided. So we had two very, very powerful cycles coinciding, both rolling over, and that was certainly a signal that we really could not miss. So I'm going to tell you, this is very, very reminiscent of the 1929 depressionary time frame. So it's a little scary. I want you to understand this, is that this is very, very reminiscent of it. It looks very, very similar to 2008 through 10 crash, but we're getting liquidity. So I'm going to just give you a little proprietary stuff, is that our liquidity that we're following has actually cycled back up a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. And once that cycle starts rolling over, that's when we expect all hell to break loose. And that is coming. So that cycle, all these cycles, they cycle up and then they cycle down. It's still on the upside to it. Very, very similar to what happened during the Great Depression. So let's just talk about what happened during the Great Depression and to why this is such an interesting time frame, because it really it's very reminiscent right now. So if you remember, we had Bretton Woods. We had lots of problems during the Roaring 20s. If you recall, we had a world war. And what happens during World War? You have capital flows. We had lots of capital flows, and we had lots of money that left Europe because it was at war. Remember, 1912, they were having problems. 1913, by 1914, they're all shooting at each other. And man, I'm going to tell you, once that first bullet lets go, it's a problem. So we had all this money that left Europe, came to the United States, tons and tons of liquidity, just like now. We've got all this liquidity coming, and we're going to talk about where is it coming from. Now, I'm going to give you a hint in that it's coming from Europe. And we're going to go through that. But why is it coming from Europe? I'm going to tell you, because once they start shooting in Europe and you have a problem, they're all heading to war. They just can't wait. You listen to all these leaders over there; they all can't wait to go to war with Russia. And if you've got any kind of money, that the moment that they start shooting, they are going to close it down. So people are sending their money here. And so let's go through that. I'm telling you right now, that's why the housing market's still holding up, and that's why the stock market is still holding up. So let's go through that, and let's just talk about what's coming out. Let me go to my next slide here. Let me open this up a little bit so you can see a little better. And let me go to my next slide. I'll try and get through this reasonably quick. Now look, I've been wondering, why has the stock market done so incredibly well? Obviously the economy is slowing down, business is slowing down, earnings are slowing down, PE ratios have exploded to infinity, and yet the stock market keeps going up. And so I went into the M2 money market supply from Federal Reserve electronic data, and look at this. You can see this historic pop. We talked about this before, and then it came down. And just in the last little bit here, the last year or so, we've gotten a big pop. Let me go to my next slide. Look at this. We've had a $1 trillion, with a T, $1 trillion increase in M2 in 1 year. So where did it come from? It didn't come from the Federal Reserve. So you would automatically think, well, it's Federal Reserve, but it's not. It's not Federal Reserve at all. As a matter of fact, they took $400 billion out, so they didn't put it in, because that's who you'd automatically think did that. But it's not coming, and we're transparent. We can see that. But yet you can see $1 trillion. And where did that $1 trillion go? What's the most liquid markets in the world is S&P 500 and the Dow Jones. And of course, the Dow Jones is known worldwide as some of the best stocks in the world. And it's incredibly liquid. So when you buy a stock, you bought someone, you gave someone money, and they put their money somewhere. And that added to our M2, and our M2 has gone up $1 trillion in the last year. And it's not from the Federal Reserve. Not from the Federal Reserve. Isn't that interesting? So let me go to my next slide. Let's open this up a little bit. Let me go to my next slide. And let's see if we can do a little detective work and see where that's coming from. Now, look at, we just picked this up. This is just really from last year. Look what the Dow Jones has done. It went to 46,000 from really 42, but came all the way down here. It's dropped. And it's going back up. So it is really exploding in a very, very bad market. So you wonder, why is that? Why is this money coming to the Dow Jones when obviously we look like we're heading into a recession? And liquidity is not coming from China. It's not coming from Japan, because you can go into the Bank of Japan. That's M2 for Japan. That's M2 for China. But look at here. Bank of France. Holy moly. Banque of France. Now, France has been in the news. They are looking to get money from the IMF because they don't have any money. And you can see capital flight coming right out of France. Capital flight coming out of France, $500 million. Now, that's in dollars. So this is in the Banque of France. Let me go to my next slide. This is going to surprise you even more. Let you look at this. This is from, here's the Banque of France. They're telling you where we started, but look at this one here. Central bank assets for euro. So this is going into the ECB, and the ECB has lost 370 billion euros, or almost $500 billion. $500 billion from the euros, and another $500 billion from Bank of France, and we're at $1 trillion. Now, I'm sure we can find this capital flight probably if we went and look at Germany and Denmark, and we looked at Italy and Spain. Spain's got already has capital controls on you. If you're going to take more than 3,000 euros, you got to get government approval to get your money. Now, just think about that. Do you want to ask the government if you can access over $3,000 or $4,000 in your account? You have to get their permission to do that. Well, that's what's happening. It will get worse. So this money is leaving France. And why are they leaving Europe? Why? Just put your thinking cap on. Why are they doing that? Germany's talking about sending troops to the Polish border. Poland is calling up troops. They're getting militarized. They just can't wait. They're going to go to war. So the sooner you get that, the better off you are. This is going to be a problem. So you need to position yourself for that. So you can see what's happening in the stock market. And we do our seminars, and we talk about the extremes that are what we see in the S&P and in the Dow Jones. I'm not a stock guy. I'm a real estate guy. But I've seen this before. We just saw this in June 2022. We called all our clients and said, look, we think we peaked. And if you need cash, you should take some money out. Now, I'm going to tell you, you do not need to be 100% invested 100% of the time. You might talk to your financial advisor and say, what's my exposure? What happens if we just had like a 10 or 20% drop? Because you've had an enormous win. You're like being at the craps table. You've doubled, tripled, quadrupled your money. Time to take some money off the table, guys. Time to do that. And, take some money. Don't buy a motor home. Don't spend it. Go put it somewhere safe. Get this money off. We're finding out that we have so many baby boomers that they got almost all their money in the stock market. And I'm going to tell you, if you have one misstep, the stock market is priced for perfection. If for some reason it drops, you guys are going to be in deep, deep doo-doo. So take some money off the table. Go talk to your financial advisor. Of course, don't take my word for it. I'm a real estate guy. But I've been an investor for a while. I've seen this before, saw this in lots of times, man. So let me go to my next slide. Let's just talk about maybe what we can do for that. And let's just talk a little bit more. Now, the housing market is definitely completing. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So we're looking at having 2 cycles. Now, remember, When it gets really bad, now I'm fully expecting the liquidity cycle to start cycling down. That's coming down. So the housing cycle is already cycling down, and I'm expecting that to get worse. And the moment that liquidity starts to cycle down too, and both those cycles are in sync, it is going to be an amazing phenomenon. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun. So if you're fully invested and you don't have cash on the sidelines, you're going to be in trouble. So make sure that you get some cash. Cash is going to be king, just like in the Depression. Cash was king. Remember, when things get tough, the banks don't want to underwrite anything. They get very, very conservative. They pull in their horns. They don't want to lend any money. So don't count on those guys. So get your cash put together, get your credit put together, because we are going to make a fortune, because this is the phase where fortunes are made. Let me go to my next slide. Let's just talk about that. Now, this is where I think we're going. We're already down 8% here in town. I think it's going to go even worse than that. You can see we just got this from Case-Shiller. We talked about this yesterday. And by the way, if you like my videos, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. We're not going to chase you for anything like that. When you subscribe, it just really helps our channel do really, really well. And I'd love you to make some comments. Tell me what's going on in your marketplace. Let me know what your thoughts are. Now, we've been following the Case-Shiller. Case-Shiller is a really it's very behind us. It's maybe 60, 90 days behind us, and it's an average. It takes a long time for this average to start changing, and it is certainly, beyond a shadow of a doubt, changing. Now, again, we've talked about this before. It peaked in Q4. It is a really long period. So we saw this happen. We saw this happen in real time. This was real time. We saw this happen. We stopped buying. We started getting very conservative. We started saving money, because we only have two rules. Only two. We make money and we don't lose money. Those are the two rules that we live by. And I'm going to tell you, if you continued buying, and we're only down 8%, but we'll talk about that before. We've done other videos talking about valuations. And when we're down 8% and the average investor, actually not the average investor, the average buyer put down anywhere from 5 to 10% down, and we're down 8, they're underwater, man. They're absolutely underwater. They cannot sell. And this is going to be a problem. And, life goes on. So if you can't sell your house, people still get transferred. They still need to move. The kids, you grow up and you need to sell your house, or you have more kids, you need a bigger house. So things happen and they're stuck. So this is going to be a problem. We're going to see foreclosures. We're going to see short sales galore everywhere we look. It is going to be a major, major problem. So let me open this up again. I'm almost done here, guys, so you can bear with me just a little bit. I don't want to make this an all-day affair. Let me go to my next slide here, and we'll just talk about this. So we've talked about this. These are February prices here in Phoenix. We're way down. So this is just looking at Phoenix. If you go out to our outlying areas like Surprise and Buckeye and Avondale, where the new construction is at, those are the youngsters that just bought a house. They are way underwater. I'm hearing in some locations they're down 20, 30%. So it's coming. It's already underway. It's going to be very, very ugly. So I'm getting, as I mentioned in the beginning of my video, I had two from Chicago, and I had two from Minneapolis. So I'm going to tell you that people are paying attention, because there is nothing for you in these endangered cities. You are going to get crushed. You want to come here to Phoenix, Arizona. I'm going to talk about what's going on. Trump has got all this manufacturing and business that's coming. It's already here in Phoenix. We have the Taiwan semiconductor plant. We've got Intel. We've got Amcor. We've got all these people making chips for Apple. We got just Taiwan Semiconductor got $100 billion contract with NVIDIA to make AI chips, already happening. And it's just explosive growth here in Phoenix. We are really the #1 market in the world. So we're highly recommend the fact that you sell your properties in, Seattle, Portland, Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, Minneapolis, Milwaukee, St. Louis, New York, often, anywhere in Connecticut, and come here and do a 1031 exchange so we can avoid we won't have a capital gains taxable event, and just put it into our markets. There's still, it's seasoned money, it's at risk. Let's get into a better market. You'll still be at risk. The risk will be less than everywhere else in the country, and you get into these decades-long trends. This is just the business here is just phenomenal. So let me go to my next slide, and I'll finish this up for you. Now, this is what we see. So this is a Taiwan semiconductor plant right here, and everything is being built around it. Matter of fact, Costco just took a building here, and we've got two Marriott's hotels that are being built here. This is going to be $1 billion, $7, $8, $9, $10 billion. Going to employ 62,000 workers here. And of course, this is the Taiwan semiconductor plant. We have all kinds of chip plants. Intel is here. Intel is doing some JV work with Taiwan Semiconductor and the government. They've just got a $10 billion project. So we are not going to be immune from what's happening. But I will tell you that we're going to be a lot better than everywhere else. So this is where I'm at. If you want to partake in what's going on here, please get together with us. At the moment, we are really keeping fresh capital out of the marketplace. We're not recommending that you put any fresh capital in, because I think that would be at risk. However, seasoned capital, where properties, if you have properties in Chicago that you want to sell, let's talk about it. It's a process. It's a planning process. Let's do a 1031 exchange. Sell the relinquished properties in Portland or Seattle or San Francisco, and let's move that capital here to Greater Phoenix and get involved with some of these places where the growth is just right off the charts. You'll do really, really well. I work with West USA. They do all our work to our back office. They keep our compliance. They're a $6 billion firm. Very well capitalized. You'll be very, very happy with this. And this is where I'm at. So if you want to do a conference with me, you want to do the consultation so we can sit down and figure out what the heck we can do for you, this is where I'm at. My very best to you guys. If I can help in any way, give me a call. See you guys. Bye-bye.